You abandoned this property for a decade. Now it belongs to the community. That voice, so sharp, so smug you could hear the HOA in every syllable, broke the morning stillness before I'd even managed a sip of coffee. And let me tell you, the entitlement coming off Veronica Sterling could choke a horse. There she was, all stiff white blazer and heels at the edge of my dock, waving some stack of paperwork around like she was about to declare independence, and lined up behind her were 7 shiny HOA security trucks, lights flashing like a 4th of July parade. My lake, my sanctuary, suddenly looked like a law enforcement theme park, and all I could do was stand there, hands in my pockets, trying to decide if this was some kind of home invasion or the HOA's annual cosplay contest. Name's Garrett Knox, and if you've never had someone try to repossess your life's work before breakfast, buddy, you don't know what this country is really about. Veronica started jabbing at her phone, those manicured fingers tapping faster than a hummingbird's wings. And if she'd gotten her way, I'd have been out on my tail before the coffee hit my system. Only, her smug little coup hit a wall when I dropped one word: registration. That's right, property registration, filed and stamped 30 minutes before her little parade showed up. The look on her face, she went from queen of the county to deer in headlights in 2 seconds flat. I almost felt bad. Almost. See, all morning she'd been barking threats at my wife Madison, never knowing Madison was the one who'd made it all legal, every signature, every loophole sewn up tight. Impossible, Veronica choked, but I just shrugged, because the signature belonged to someone who'd actually cared for this place the whole decade I was away. Yeah, that happened. Let me back up a sec. If you've never had an HOA try to mug you, here's how I got roped into this mess. 10 years ago, I was a marine biologist. Just a guy collecting water samples, chasing down invasive fish, never expecting to fall in love with a patch of wild lake in the middle of nowhere. But then I found out the land came with a conservation easement, a legal shield against developers, left by some ancestor with more foresight than sense. Bought it from Walter Briggs. Man's luck ran out when his own factory poisoned these waters. 2 years of pure bliss, cataloging fish, building a dock with my own hands, and putting up a cabin that doubled as a research lab. It was paradise until a research grant sent me to Alaska. And I figured, well, I'll just pay my taxes, set up a property manager, wire up some cameras. Nothing can go wrong, right? That's where the Sterlings come in, Veronica and her husband, Senator Harrison Sterling. Smell the payday the minute I was gone. Next thing I know, 10 years later, I'm standing on my own dock, and Veronica's face is draining of color because my wife's name pops up on her phone, and suddenly those tough guy security guards behind her start shuffling around, looking for the exits. My peaceful little dock? Now it's a mini marina, racing buoys, fuel pumps. Even what I swear are gambling terminals disguised as race timers. The Sterling family crest plastered everywhere like we're in enemy territory. Veronica tried every trick: adverse possession, community statutes, abandonment. She must have copied her homework from Wikipedia because none of it held up, not with the federal conservation easement in play. And get this, her name, front and center, on a forged transfer application. That's about the time real sirens rolled up. Sheriff's cruisers, blue and white, and out steps Brandon Hayes, Veronica's own brother-in-law, looking every bit the part in uniform, but I could see his eyes checking with her for instructions. He tries the tough routine, demanding IDs, paperwork, the whole deal, but I came loaded for bear. Deed, conservation records, even an EPA protection order. Maybe not real, but he didn't know that. Sometimes you gotta play the hand they think you're holding, you know what I mean? Suddenly, Veronica's army isn't so interested in a showdown. That's when, out of the trees behind me, I hear another voice, Eleanor Whitfield. My neighbor, retired FBI, always with a thermos and binoculars on her porch, but today she's carrying a box of evidence and the kind of grin you only get from knowing you've got the upper hand. I've got those recordings you wanted, Garrett, 37 incidents. Audio and video. Turns out her porch sitting had been more surveillance op than gossip patrol. The energy shifted so fast you could feel it in the planks under your feet. Even the security guard, Reynolds, big guy, used to look at me like I was nothing. Now he looked like he'd bolt at the sound of a squirrel. It unraveled quick. County Commission? Live streaming, Sterling Financial. Records. FBI. Already raiding their law office. Veronica's phone lit up. Her husband screaming about frozen assets. The feds in his office. Everything collapsing. And in the middle of all this, Eleanor outs a secret I never saw coming. Madison, my wife, the woman Veronica had spent all morning tormenting, wasn't just defending the property. She was the actual county land registrar. The one who'd blocked every Sterling move in the dark for a decade. Now that's what I call a twist. Madison stepped out, calm as glass, but eyes like daggers, rattling off the exact years, months, and days she'd kept this place safe. She'd fought a whole war behind the scenes, with nothing but paperwork, patience, and a kind of quiet fury. Veronica got the call right there. FBI, do not leave. Agents inbound. Her security detail disappeared, Brandon retreated, and Madison finally told Veronica exactly what she thought about her threats, especially the one about our daughter's safety on the way to school. That moment, the dock went dead silent. Everyone took a step back from Madison, like they could feel the temperature drop 10 degrees. Then came the choppers, not news, but federal Blackhawks. Agents pouring out, reading Veronica her rights while she desperately tried to figure out if her yacht could make a break for it. Sorry, no chance. Engine was already disabled. Courtesy of a Navy SEAL buddy. That's how prepared Madison was. But the real kicker? Eleanor reveals she's not just our neighbor. She's Madison's biological mom. Had been using the lake for undercover ops for years. That lake I loved had turned into a smuggling hub. Underwater cages, fake habitats, a whole network hiding art, drugs, you name it. Only thing that saved it was that Eleanor and Madison had been tracking every move. When the smoke cleared, the truth was wilder than any rumor. Sterling's empire spanned 7 states. International links, politicians, you name it. My absence in Alaska? That was the cover Eleanor and Madison needed to bring the feds in and crack the whole thing open. By noon, the lake was crawling with agents, evidence boxes stacked higher than the dock, and neighbors cheering from their yards, finally free after years under Sterling control. Restoration funds, courtesy of asset seizures, poured in. The lake became a federal research preserve, named after our family's fight. But just as we were catching our breath, Agent Rodriguez from the feds comes over, looking grim. The Sterling syndicate had called in backup, boats full of desperate criminals, trying to sink evidence or muscle their way out. What followed? Pure chaos. Federal agents used Sterling's illegal dock fortifications as bunkers. Helicopters chased boats. Divers fished up crates from the bottom, and my once sleepy lake turned into the set of an action movie. By nightfall, the syndicate was finished. Everyone involved, jailed or running. My community, finally, could breathe again. 6 months later, I'm back on that dock, coffee in hand, sunrise sparkling off water that's cleaner than it's been in decades. Madison passes me a folder. The EPA just approved an expansion, and law students are arriving next week to learn how to fight corruption. Eleanor waves from shore, lighter now that her war's over. Sometimes you win by fighting. Sometimes you win because someone else fought the war you didn't know was raging. So what do you think? Was justice really served? Or did it take an army to finally bring down one family's greed? Did the ends justify the means? Or did the means become the story? Tell me below, what's the line between community and control, between justice and revenge? Share where you're watching from, your own battles with HOAs, and what you'd have done. I want to hear it all. Because if there's one thing I know now, it's that a Sterling can show up anywhere. And sometimes, the only way to save your home is to fight for it with everything you've got.